Before I'm going to I'm going to suggest that we take a 5-minute break to accommodate the judge. In just a minute, I want to put to rest one notion here, Judge, if I may. Hopefully attempt to put it to rest. One, do not count me as one of your detractors because I ask you tough questions. Number two, the issue of natural law may confound the people, to use Senator Simpson's phrase, but not a single legal scholar in America. And I hope you meet that test, or you shouldn't be on the Supreme Court. You must have a knowledge and insight to the Constitution that is better than the average lawyer. And I'm sure you do. That's why I'm sure you understand what I'm about to say. Not a single legal scholar in America fails to understand the significance of whether and how one applies natural law. Judge Bork devoted a chapter in his book about how those people who want to apply natural law are bad, not bad in a moral sense, are wrong. There's an entire school of thought that you are fully familiar with. I'm not failing to accept your answers yesterday. I just want to make sure we all know what we're talking about here, that you and I know at least what we're talking about here. There's not a single legal scholar who does not understand that there's a fervent, bright, and aggressive school of thought that wishes to see natural law further inform the Constitution than it does now. Argued against by the positivists led by Judge Bork. Now again, that may be lost on all the people. You know and I know what we're talking about. Now, all I'm out to do in my second round, and others are, is to find out whether you, in fact, do apply natural law, and if you do, how. You answered that partially yesterday. I'm somewhat confused. I'll come back to it. But let the record know, for all the press to know, whether someone applies natural law is of phenomenal significance. And there's not a single legal scholar in America you can question who will not tell you that is not true. Now, you may apply it, someone may apply it in a way, like Moore, who leads him in a direction that is, quote, liberal. You may apply it in a way that leads you in a direction that's conservative. Or you may, like many argue, not apply it at all. But it is a fundamental question that is going to be almost impossible for non-lawyers to grasp in an exchange. But you know and I know it is a big, big deal. And in conclusion, the only reason most of us I asked you about natural law is that is how you gained your reputation, rightly or wrongly. When you are spoken about by other lawyers, when you were spoken about in the press, I didn't invent it. You are spoken about in terms of your speeches on natural law. Now, I accept for the moment that everybody misunderstood you. Well, not everybody. Let me be precise. That they were just philosophic musings. I accept that for the moment. But I don't want any senator to think that, quote, your detractors are out there searching for a theory that doesn't have significance. I, like Senator Simpson, didn't do well in law school. Probably worse than Senator Simpson. No, I did very poorly in law school. I did very poorly in law school. But I spent an awful lot of time since law school dealing with this subject. And I know it. And you know and I know what a judge's view on this issue is of phenomenal consequence to the future of this country. And again, if your view is, stated view, and I'm needed explored further, is, Senator, whenever I speak of natural law, there are philosophic musings, they in no way impact upon my view in the court, fine. That answers the question. that answers the question. But please let no one misunderstand. This question informs every other application of the law in the Constitution. It's that basic, it's that simple. I accept your assertion that it doesn't for you. I accept that. I want to go back and discuss it more. This is less for you than it is for Senator Simpson and others. And lastly, let me point out. You point out that you say that, for example, it must be in the Constitution, liberty. Well, you know, liberty means different things to different people. It's in the 14th Amendment. Now, some people interpret liberty in terms of natural law, as you well know. Some people interpret it only in terms of tradition and history. And some people, when they look at history and tradition, interpret it a different way. Scalia says when you look at tradition, you got to look at it very narrowly. Others say you look at it broadly. So it makes a big difference. It's going to be impossible to communicate to the people. My job is not to communicate to the people at this point. My job is to make sure that we know what your basic philosophic point of view is relative to the Constitution. I am not a detractor. Asking you these questions is not meant in any way, I hope you understand, to be a detraction or distraction. It is tantamount to understanding how you approach constitutional interpretation. We'll recess for 10 minutes. Excuse me, the senator wants to make it.
I have 30 seconds at least left.
You can have it anytime you want.
No, I don't. I just say I think it's very important to make a distinction here between natural law as an academic exercise or discussion, or a flight for law review editors, and a political confirmation process. Those are two entirely different matters. And I was referring to the latter, and I would just say that to me, in my studies, your life in public is not based on a reputation bogged down in the definition of natural law. Don't know where that came from. Thank you.
Well, I'll point out later where it came from. I thank you very much. We're going to recess for 10 minutes.